Family should be your safety net, not the ones who destroy everything you love. I thought I had finally escaped the toxicity when I met Sophia. Her gentle smile and kind heart helped heal the wounds left by being disowned 2 years earlier. Our modest Portland home became our sanctuary, and when she told me we were expecting, I felt true joy for the first time in years. But I never imagined my own family would contact her abusive parents, unleashing a nightmare that would cost us our unborn child. Hey everyone, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below, and hit that like and subscribe button if you want to hear how I finally confronted my golden child brother after the most devastating betrayal imaginable. I grew up in an affluent Boston suburb where appearances meant everything and genuine emotions were considered weaknesses. My father Richard built his investment banking career on ruthless determination and expected nothing less from his sons. My mother Diana maintained the perfect facade, hosting charity galas, while barely knowing the names of my friends or interests. Then there was Jackson, my younger brother, by 18 months, and the undisputed golden child. While I struggled to fit into their polished world, he effortlessly embodied everything they valued: athletic prowess, academic excellence, and social charm that made him the darling of their country club set. From early on, I felt like an alien in my own home. Where Jackson excelled at debate team and varsity football, I found solace in photography and abstract art. My father would scoff whenever he found me working on a new photo project, dismissing my passion as a waste of potential. My mother would smile thinly and ask when I would grow out of this phase, like it was teenage rebellion rather than my authentic self. The contrast between how they treated us became painfully obvious during our respective 16th birthdays. Jackson received a brand new BMW and a lavish party at the yacht club. I got a reluctant handshake from my father and a gift card to a business clothing store. High school became my battleground for independence. While maintaining decent grades, I invested my energy in photography, capturing the overlooked corners of our pristine community: homeless veterans, beneath highway, overpasses, immigrant families, working multiple jobs, the stark contrasts of American life that my parents preferred to ignore. Each new photo series was met with increasing hostility at home. "Why must you always focus on the negative?" my mother would ask with a pained expression. My father was more direct. "No son of mine is going to become some bleeding heart artist living in squalor." Jackson learned early how to exploit the dynamic. When I refused to join the debate team as my father wanted, Jackson would shake his head and say things like, "I just wish he would try to make them happy sometimes," while simultaneously reporting my every move that deviated from their expectations. He became their perfect spy, earning praise for his concern about me while cementing his position as the responsible son. When college applications came around, the tension reached breaking point. My father had mapped out my future at Wharton, following his footsteps into finance. I had other plans, applying to art schools with strong photojournalism programs. When my acceptance letter to Rhode Island School of Design arrived, I made the mistake of leaving it on my desk. That night, my father stormed into my room, letter crumpled in his fist, his face purple with rage. I did not raise a son to throw away his life on pictures, he spat. "Either you accept the Wharton offer, or you find your own way to pay for this nonsense." Feeling trapped, I reluctantly enrolled in the business program, telling myself I could minor in photography or find some compromise. But the soul-crushing reality of classes I hated quickly became unbearable. During my sophomore year, I made the decision that would ultimately sever my family ties forever. I dropped out of business school and enrolled in a photography program at Portland State University. The final confrontation happened during what was supposed to be a normal family dinner during spring break. I had planned to tell them calmly about my decision and the scholarship I had secured. Instead, I walked into an ambush. They sat stone-faced around our mahogany dining table, a folder of my withdrawal papers between them. Jackson had discovered my plans and reported back, playing the concerned brother, while actually enjoying the drama about to unfold. "We did not raise you to be a failure," my father began, his voice eerily controlled. "This family has a legacy, a standard to maintain." My mother dabbed at invisible tears. "What will we tell the Harringtons? Their son just made junior partner at Goldman Sachs. Jackson sat smugly across from me. "Bro, we are just worried about your future. Not everyone can make a living taking pictures." The argument escalated until my father issued his final ultimatum. "Either you recommit to Wharton and a respectable career path, or you are no longer welcome in this family. No support, no inheritance, no contact. Your choice." The silence that followed felt eternal. 2 decades of conditional love and impossible standards crashed down on me. I looked at each of their faces, my father's cold determination, my mother's weak distress, and Jackson's barely concealed satisfaction. "Then I guess I no longer have a family," I said, standing up. "I would rather be alone than spend another minute trying to earn the love that should have been unconditional." I walked out with nothing but my camera, laptop, and a duffel bag of clothes. My father froze all accounts with my name on them, including my college savings. My mother sent one tearful voicemail begging me to be reasonable. Jackson texted that I was being dramatic as usual. Then nothing. Complete silence for almost 2 years. Portland welcomed me with its artistic community and lack of pretension. The early months were brutal, sleeping on a friend's couch, working mornings at a coffee shop, and evenings washing dishes at a local restaurant. Every spare moment was dedicated to building my portfolio and making connections in the photography world. I lived on ramen and determination, but for the first time I was living authentically. 6 months of hustle led to my first small break. A local magazine hired me to shoot a feature on urban farming initiatives. The pay was modest, but seeing my name in print validated the hardest decision of my life. Small commissions turned into regular gigs. Eventually, I could afford a tiny studio apartment with enough space for a makeshift darkroom in the bathroom. By the end of my first year in Portland, I had established a reputation for honest, compelling documentary photography. My life changed forever on a rainy Thursday evening during my gallery debut, a series on displaced communities in Portland. The space was crowded with local artists and supporters when I noticed her, a woman, studying my photographs with unusual intensity. While others moved quickly through the exhibit, she spent minutes with each image, occasionally making notes in a small leather journal. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, and something about her quiet focus drew me across the room. "The story behind that one is particularly interesting," I said, approaching carefully as she examined a photograph of an elderly Vietnamese woman sitting on the steps of a condemned apartment building. She turned, and her deep brown eyes caught me off guard. I was just thinking that her expression contains an entire history. There is dignity there despite everything. Her name was Sofia Martinez, and she worked as a social worker, specializing in trauma recovery for refugees. We talked until the gallery closed, then continued at an all-night diner where conversation flowed as if we had known each other for years. She understood instinctively what I tried to capture in my work: the resilience of the human spirit amid struggle. By sunrise, I knew she was someone special. Our relationship developed with rare ease. Sophia brought a warmth and authenticity I had never experienced. She laughed, freely cried when moved, and expressed her thoughts without calculation or hidden agenda. After growing up in a home where every interaction felt like a strategic game, her emotional honesty was both terrifying and liberating. 3 months into dating, during a weekend camping trip to the Oregon coast, Sophia shared her own family history. Under a blanket of stars, words tumbled out about growing up in a household ruled by fear. Her father, Martin, masked his controlling nature behind a veneer of strict Catholic values and concern for her purity. Her mother, Elena, taught her to walk silently and anticipate her father's moods to avoid his explosive temper. The worst part, she whispered, was never knowing what would trigger him. A dinner served 2 minutes late, a grade below an A, wearing a shirt he decided was too revealing anything could set him off. The physical abuse started when she was 14 and caught talking to a boy after school. It escalated through her teen years until she escaped to college at 18 with a scholarship her parents couldn't control. She maintained minimal contact holiday calls and carefully planned brief visits, always in public places. "I have not been to their house since I left," she explained, "and they have never been to any place I have lived. It is my one, non-negotiable boundary." As Sophia recounted her story, I felt a deep recognition. Different circumstances, but the same fundamental betrayal by those meant to protect us. Our shared understanding of family trauma created a bond that others might find hard to comprehend. We knew the complexity of loving people who hurt you, the guilt, mixed with necessary self-preservation and the constant vigilance against repeating toxic patterns. By our first anniversary, we had moved in together, combining our modest incomes to rent a small two-bedroom house on the east side of Portland. The second bedroom became our shared creative space, her desk filled with research and client notes beside my editing station and photography equipment. We created the warm, accepting home neither of us had growing up. Sophia maintained her boundary with her parents through carefully managed phone calls every few weeks. I had no contact with my family beyond occasionally checking their social media from anonymous accounts. We built our own holiday traditions and surrounded ourselves with friends who became our chosen family. For the first time, I understood what true belonging felt like. Then came the morning that Sophia emerged from the bathroom with tears in her eyes and a positive pregnancy test in her trembling hands. We had discussed children as a someday possibility, but faced with the reality, a momentary panic gripped me. What did I know about being a father? My only model was a man who used love as a weapon of control. Sophia recognized my fear immediately. "We are not them," she said, firmly taking my hands. "We know exactly what not to do. We will break these cycles." As her words sank in fear gave way to joy. We would create the family we deserved, built on acceptance, emotional safety, and unconditional love. We spent that entire weekend dreaming about who our child might become, the values we would instill, and the traditions we would create. I felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything I had experienced before. The following weeks brought a flurry of preparations, researching childcare costs, rearranging our home office to accommodate a nursery, Sophia taking prenatal vitamins and me reading every parenting book I could find. At 12 weeks, seeing our baby on the ultrasound, a tiny, fluttering heartbeat that somehow already held all our hopes, I made a silent promise to protect this new life with everything I had. I never imagined that the greatest threat would come from the people who once called themselves my family. The first contact came innocuously enough, an email from my mother with the subject line, "Thinking of you." After almost 2 years of silence, her message expressed vague regrets and mentioned that she missed having me in her life. No specific acknowledgement of how they had treated me. No real apology, just a gentle probing about my current circumstances and whether I might be open to healing our family. I showed the email to Sophia, who read it with the careful attention of someone trained to recognize manipulation. "There is something off about the timing," she noted. Why now? After all this time, despite my reservations, some childish part of me wanted to believe my parents had genuinely changed. The prospect of our child having grandparents, real loving grandparents, was tempting. I responded cautiously, sharing minimal details about my photography career, but nothing about Sophia or the pregnancy. A week later, Jackson reached out via Instagram, commenting on a professional photo I had posted. "Always knew you had talent, bro. We should catch up sometime." This was followed by direct messages expressing regret for how things went down and suggesting a video call to reconnect. Against my better judgment, and with Sophia's cautious support, I agreed to a brief conversation. Jackson appeared on screen looking every bit the successful young executive in a crisp button-down his apartment, screaming, "Upper-class professional." He seemed genuinely interested in my work, asking thoughtful questions about my projects, and congratulating me on recent publications. The conversation felt surreal, like talking to a friendly acquaintance rather than someone who had participated in my exile. "Mom and Dad really do miss you," he said toward the end of our call. "They talk about you more than you would think. Dad even has that feature you did for National Geographic framed in his study." The idea that my father might secretly respect my work planted a dangerous seed of hope. Jackson suggested meeting in person when he would be in Seattle for business the following month. Just brothers catching up. No pressure, no family drama. When I mentioned this possibility to Sophia, now 16 weeks pregnant, she expressed concern. "Just be careful. People rarely change fundamentally, especially without doing serious work on themselves." Her words proved prophetic when I received a disturbing call from Trevor, an old family friend who worked at my father's firm. Gavin, I am not supposed to tell you this, but something weird is happening. Your parents have been asking very specific questions about you, where you live, exactly whether you are in a serious relationship, your financial situation. It seems like they are gathering information, not just catching up. The next day, a photographer friend in Boston texted me, "Dude, weird question. Is your brother trying to get in touch with you? He cornered me at an event asking for your address, claiming he had lost it and wanted to send you something. Important." Alarm bells rang loud and clear. I immediately called Jackson, who brushed off my concerns with practiced ease. "Chill, bro. Mom just wants to send you something for your birthday. No grand conspiracy here." But the final confirmation came from Sandra, my mother's former assistant, who had always been kind to me. She called late one evening, her voice hushed. "Gavin, I overheard something today that you need to know. Your parents found out about your girlfriend being pregnant. Some mutual acquaintance saw you at a prenatal clinic and told them. They were discussing how to intervene because they are concerned about their grandchild being raised." She paused, clearly uncomfortable repeating their words by you and your questionable girlfriend. My blood ran cold. I asked how they knew anything about Sophia, and Sandra's answer confirmed my worst fears. "Jackson has been investigating your life in Portland. He found out who she is, where she works, and he discovered something about her family history that seemed to excite your parents. I immediately strengthened all our security measures, changing passwords, setting up cameras around our house, and warning friends not to share any information about us. Sophia and I agreed to be extra vigilant, but we underestimated the depth of my family's betrayal. 3 days later, Trevor called again, panic evident in his voice. "Gavin, they found Sophia's parents. I just overheard your father on a call with someone named Martin Martinez. They were discussing shared concerns about the baby and your unstable lifestyle. Your father gave them your address entry code, even mentioned when Sophia is typically home alone." Horrified, I tried calling Sophia immediately. She was home that afternoon finishing paperwork while I covered a local protest. No answer. I called our neighbor, who agreed to check on her, then raced home running red lights and praying I was overreacting. I was not. Police cars with flashing lights surrounded our house. Paramedics wheeled out a stretcher, and through the crowd I caught a glimpse of Sophia's unconscious form, her face bruised beyond recognition. I abandoned my car in the middle of the street and ran screaming her name until an officer restrained me. "Sir, are you Gavin Thompson? Your neighbor called this in." 2 individuals broke in and assaulted the pregnant woman inside. "She kept calling for you." The following hours became a blur of hospital corridors, police questions, and devastating news. Sophia's injuries were severe: broken ribs, concussion, internal bleeding. And our baby, our tiny innocent child, could not survive such trauma. The doctors delivered the news with clinical gentleness that did nothing to soften the crushing weight of loss. When Sophia regained consciousness, she confirmed what I already knew. Her father had broken in with her mother's help, raging about her, hiding a pregnancy from the family, and her shame of living in sin. When she tried to call for help, he had thrown her against the wall, continuing the assault, even as she begged him to think of the baby. Only the neighbor's intervention had stopped him from doing even worse. As I sat beside her hospital bed, holding her bandaged hand and mourning our unborn child, 2 detectives confirmed that both her parents had been arrested. They also shared a chilling detail. Upon questioning, her father had mentioned being contacted by concerned relatives of mine who had opened his eyes to the situation. In that moment, something inside me broke permanently. My family had not only betrayed me, but had weaponized another abuser against the woman I loved, directly causing the death of our child. No explanation, no apology could ever bridge such a chasm. I filed for restraining orders against both sets of parents, and Jackson then focused entirely on helping Sophia heal from injuries both physical and spiritual. The weeks following our loss passed in a fog of grief and practical necessities. We could not return to our violated home, so we moved into a secured apartment building with restricted access. Sophia took medical leave from her job, while I accepted only assignments that allowed me to stay close to her. We attended grief counseling together, learning to navigate the complex terrain of trauma and loss. Physical wounds healed faster than the emotional ones. Nights were the worst. Sophia often woke screaming from nightmares where she could not protect our child. I battled insomnia fueled by guilt and rage, constantly replaying what I could have done differently to prevent the tragedy. We had just started discussing returning to work when the final betrayal arrived. I was at my small studio photographing product shots for a local business when the receptionist called. "3 people are here asking for you, an older couple and a younger man. They will not make an appointment, insisting it is family business." I instructed her to tell them I was unavailable, but moments later my studio door opened. My father walked in first, followed by my mother and Jackson. They looked oddly out of place in their expensive clothes amidst my humble workspace. My father carried a leather portfolio that I recognized as containing legal documents. Gavin, my mother, began taking a step forward. "We have been trying to reach you. We are so sorry about what happened." My father cleared his throat. "Son, while this situation is unfortunate, we want to help you move forward. We have arranged for a fresh start, a condo in Boston positions for both you and Sophia at respectable companies, and the best trauma counselors available." Jackson added, "The Martinez situation was regrettable, but no one could have predicted they would react so violently. We were just trying to ensure all parties were informed about the pregnancy." Their words struck me as coming from another dimension, completely detached from the reality of what their actions had caused. There was no real acknowledgement of responsibility, just the same controlling behavior dressed as concern. "Our grandchild may be gone," my mother said, dabbing at dry eyes, "but we can still be a family again." Something primal and protective rose within me. "Our child," I corrected, my voice dangerously quiet. "Our child who had a name, who was loved, who would never have known you." I turned to Jackson, who was examining one of my framed photographs with casual interest. "And you? You tracked down Sophia's abusive parents and gave them our address, knowing exactly what kind of people they were." "Come on," Gavin, Jackson scoffed. "Always so dramatic. We were trying to do the right thing. How were we supposed to know her father was unstable? Besides, if you had just stayed in the family business like Dad wanted, none of this would have happened. Your decisions have consequences." That last sentence, delivered with the smug superiority he had wielded all our lives, shattered my last thread of restraint. 28 years of being diminished, controlled, and now this ultimate betrayal that had cost my child's life, all crystallized into pure rage. I do not remember crossing the room. I do not remember the first punch. But I remember the shock in Jackson's eyes, as he realized, perhaps for the first time, that his actions had real consequences. My fists connected again and again, releasing years of stored pain and new grief in a torrent of physical fury. I heard my mother screaming and my father shouting for security, but nothing could pull me from the red haze of retribution. Only when 2 security guards dragged me away did I regain awareness of my surroundings. Jackson lay on the floor, his perfect face bloodied and swollen, his expensive shirt torn. My father was already on the phone with his lawyer, while my mother knelt beside her golden child, wailing as if he were the only victim in the room. "If any of you ever contact me or Sophia again," I said through ragged breaths, "I will press charges for your role in what happened. The police already have statements from multiple witnesses about your coordination with the Martinez family. Now get out." They left my father practically carrying Jackson while threatening lawsuits and criminal charges. I knew he would not follow through any legal action, would make their role in the tragedy public record, damaging their precious reputation. Some things were more important to them than even revenge. The aftermath of that confrontation brought unexpected clarity. Sophia and I decided to leave Portland, entirely choosing Denver for its distance from both our families and its supportive arts community. I sold my photography business and focused on national magazine assignments, while Sophia found work with a refugee support organization. We pursued legal action against both sets of parents, not for money, but for accountability and protection. The restraining orders became permanent, and her parents faced criminal charges for the assault. My family avoided legal consequences, but lost something perhaps more valuable to them: their social standing. Word of their role in the tragedy spread through their circles, leading to quiet exclusion from the society events that had been my mother's lifeblood. Physical distance provided space for healing. Through therapy, Sophia and I learned to process our grief without letting it define our future. We created memorial rituals for our lost child, planting a tree on each anniversary and capturing its growth through my camera lens, life continuing, despite profound loss. A year after moving to Denver, we began cautiously discussing trying again for a family. The conversation was weighted with fear and hope in equal measure. "I am terrified," Sophia admitted one evening as we sat on our balcony watching the sunset paint the mountains. "Not just of losing another child, but of failing as parents. What if we are too damaged to give a child what they need?" I took her hand, noticing how our matching silver rings caught the fading light. We had married, quietly witnessed only by our closest friends, a deliberate choice to build something new on our own terms. "We will never be perfect parents," I acknowledged. "No one is. But we know what not to do. We know how it feels to be hurt by those who should love you most. That knowledge is painful, but it is also powerful." The journey toward healing continues daily. We have created boundaries that protect without isolating, built friendships that support without controlling, and found purpose in helping others navigate family trauma. My photography now focuses on resilience and chosen families, documenting stories of people who have rebuilt after profound loss. The most important lesson from our ordeal is that family is not defined by blood but by love, respect, and choice. True family lifts you up rather than tears you down. True family celebrates your authentic self rather than trying to mold you into their image. True family protects rather than endangers those you love. We are creating that kind of family now, slowly, mindfully, with full awareness of the legacy of pain we carry and our determination not to pass it forward. Our story continues to unfold, not defined by what we lost, but by what we choose to build from the ashes of that loss. Have you ever had to cut ties with toxic family members for your own well-being? How did you handle rebuilding your life afterward? Share your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to hear more stories of resilience, and share with someone who might need to know they are not alone in their family struggles. Thank you for listening to my story today, and remember that sometimes the family we choose is more valuable than the one we were born into.